One of the real reasons I feel like people fail is because they really don't understand like the steps to like success or like what's really important, as far as success is concerned. And I mean, and it makes sense. It's not something we teach as a culture, as a nation. Most people just kind of have to find their way to it. And, so I totally understand why some people just never really get it. Like, I've had the benefit of my parents telling me for years, write stuff down. I'm a big technology guy. I'll throw something in my phone in a heartbeat. You know what I mean? I'll even take pictures of cars to remember numbers and things like that. But they say more people are successful when they sit down and they write things down. So I just got some steps here that I think will help people be successful. Episode 2. Let's go. Okay, episode 2. Here we go. So this video is really inspired because I've done some work in the public school system, and I had a student who really asked me, Mr. B, that's what they called me, Mr. B. It was like 6 of us. My last name was hard to say, apparently for some reason, like Bethea or Bethay, depending on where you're from, or Bethea, but they couldn't say it, but Tyler just call me Mr. B. It's fine. So he said, Mr. B, like, what do you think it takes to really be successful? And so I jotted down like 7 things I think would take, to be successful. I got my little note sheet here, so I don't, forget. But I just wanted to talk about that really today. That sometimes I feel as though successful people don't always share secrets to the outside world because they want to keep them. Because the more successful everybody is, then they're not secrets. They're not special, right? But once you're inside the inner circle of successful people, they freely share secrets. This is why so many people spend time trying to penetrate certain circles of success and certain societies of people who get together and do things, is because of the knowledge that you'll get when you're in those circles. And I would tell people, that's not one of my secrets, one of my habits that you should do to be successful. But I will tell you, always like seek higher knowledge, like amongst other people. But just to start off, all right, so 7 things that I recommend, and I'm pretty sure there are others you can find on the internet. It's a lot of videos on YouTube, but from Jamaal Bethea Show, these are 7 things I think you should do in order to be successful. All right, so number 1, love where you work. I cannot stress this enough. It is important and it is possible to love the work that you do. I had a conversation with a friend of mine who I love dearly recently. And I was just saying, like, where you might work right now, how do you feel about it? And you're like, I mean, it's work. It is what it is. I need to pay bills. And I hear so many people say that. And it's true that once you build a certain life, you then need to do certain things to sustain said life. But I guess where I always come from is the standpoint of, especially because a child asks me, a lot of time as adults, we have families and, things like that. And we go, well, I just need a job because I have to make some kind of money. But the problem with that line of thinking is that, so before you created the family, what was your plan? Most people don't have a plan before they created a family. And let's face it, we live in a society where sex is all the rage. So people sometimes end up with, oops, and I'm pregnant. And then it's like, okay, did you not understand that sex would cause babies? Like, I don't. So a lot of people end up just kind of having to react. Successful people are proactive. I'm going to put a plan together. I'm going to work this plan to get to where I want to get to. And then I'm going to start to think about everything else, including marriage and family. A lot of people are reactive. Well, this has now happened, so I have to do something to support it. And I'm saying it's very possible to love where you work. Because my friend was just like, you work out of necessity. Everything else is a luxury. I was like, well, you plan your life for that luxury. You know what I mean? I have a YouTube short about this. When you love what you do, you get natural built-in patience. You're not watching the clock. It's only 1 o'clock. I thought it was three. I'm so ready to go home. Damn, I hate this job. You don't have that problem. You know what I mean? And I also said, I think my last video, sometimes you could be holding up somebody else's dream because you're working a job you don't want to be doing. That could be their dream, but you're there just because you need to pay bills. No, you need to write down your plans. Write down a 5 year plan. Write down a 2 year plan. Write down a 1 year plan. Write down a 6 month plan. Write down these plans to the T. And then as you accomplish things, you could check them off the list. You know, um, I'm totally sensitive to the fact that, maybe you had to get a job to support your family. I'm not saying that's wrong. Again, I also said this on my last video. If you have a job and you're working to pay bills and you're taking care of family, I applaud you because there's some lazy people out here that aren't even doing that. You know what I'm saying? But it's not a myth or a fallacy or a fantasy to love where you work. That is something you should aspire to do. Last thing on this point, you spend the majority of your time while you're awake at work. Think about it. You wake up at 5 o'clock to be at work between 7 and 9, to get off between what, 5 and 7, to be sleep by 11 o'clock to do it all over again. You're spending the majority of your time doing something you don't like. Does that really make sense? Outside of the necessity because you reacted to what happened in your life versus being proactive and guiding what happened in your life. Does that really make sense? Like eating, unless you are unfortunately very poor, for most people who, earn middle class salaries, eating is a luxury. I can eat McDonald's if I want. I can go to the market if I want. I can go out to eat if I want. But imagine not having that luxury. I personally don't like sushi. I do not. I don't. Okay. My daughter loves sushi. And I mean, I've had some sushi that's pretty good, but she loves it. I don't like it. I can't imagine if every day of my life, all I could eat was sushi. I wouldn't want to eat. And I think that's what happens to a lot of people with their jobs. You just don't really want to be there. But who told you you had to be there? Okay, my second tip is don't be lazy. And I say don't be lazy because as a society, we have a very comfortable life in America. We have social media, we have festivals and things like that. We have television shows. We can, again, we can go to the market. We don't have to go catch our own food. And nowadays, you don't even have to go to the market. You can have, y'all know those food delivery services that can bring your food to you and you can just pick your food up at the door. We have a very convenient lifestyle. So it's easy to just sit on the couch eating corn chips, watching a damn marathon of shows. I mean, I've gone through 2 seasons of a show in a day. You know what I mean? And you need that leisure time. I'm not saying you can't do that every now and then, but there are so many people that, if we be honest, they just don't want to do anything. So they go to work just to pay a bill and then they go home and they do absolutely nothing. Like after work is some of the most important time you can have. Why? Because let's think about it. When you get home from work, what do most people do? Nothing until the next day. Sure, you might have kids and homework and things like that, may have to pay a couple bills. Most people don't do anything constructive after work. They do nothing. Why? I worked already today. Well, you're broke still, correct? So maybe you need to do some other things to begin to climb out of the situation. So for me, that's a big one. Don't be lazy, period, but mainly after work. Be constructive. You know what I mean? There are other things you can do in your time to, like, just self help, just to work on yourself. You know what I mean? YouTube has a gabillion hours of video. There's so much motivational content. There's a lot of things you could do in that time after work. Most people just go home and they sit on the couch and they wait for the next day. And it's just like you don't you don't think there's no common link between the fact that you do nothing and the fact that you have nothing? It's a direct common link. Like, don't be lazy. Like, and I'm saying this because being lazy is easy. I have a very laid back personality. In general, I have a very easy to please personality. It would be very easy for me to play video games all day, every day, and just be happy. My daughter comes over, we have fun, I'd just be happy. Well, you can't build much of a life doing that. You really can't. So I would say don't be lazy. And At the end of the day, I think a lot of people's laziness stems out of lack of confidence. I do. Because at the end of the day, what is laziness? Laziness is lack of action, lack of movement. And what is lack of action and lack of movement? Indecision. And what does indecision really come from? Lack of confidence. When you don't have confidence, you can't make a choice. You become indecisive, right? And when you can't make a choice, what do? You kind of just, or as like one time Jay-Z said on the record, people treadmilling, they moving in place. Yeah, your brain is moving because your brain is doing all of this, 1,000 cycles per second. So your brain is moving and you're thinking, probably fearful, can't get out of your head, but you're not moving, you're not doing anything. So the truth is, I don't think most people are lazy because they want to be, but they are. I think they're lazy because in their mind, they have dreams that they don't feel like they could really reach. But again, that goes back to that planning piece. So the easiest way to not be lazy is just to plan. But don't be lazy. Work on something constructive all the time. You might even surprise yourself with the results. Okay, so this third one is going to be a little taboo. I don't know how y'all going to feel about this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Read just because. Please, this is huge. Public school system. I'm born and raised in Baltimore. Baltimore County public school system, in my opinion, has made it very clear that in some ways they just don't want to educate the kids. I worked in the school system for a year. I'm not saying I have extensive knowledge, but my mom worked there for 20 years practically. Now she's been a pastor for 23. Same thing. Some of the policies just don't make any sense. It's very, very clear to me they're not trying to really educate these kids. And I would cry it's like that in a lot of other school systems in a lot of other states. But the point of me saying that is we define things by association. So if I'm in school and I'm reading and I'm fucking bored, when I get home, I'm not going to read because in my mind, it equals fucking boring. That's just how you associate things. So what ends up happening is kids just don't want to read. So they'll do anything but. But the truth of the matter is, reading is transformative. Not only because I always told my daughter, skills in life are you use it or you lose it. So if you don't read for a long enough period of time, the next time you read, notice how often you stutter, or felt like you read something and didn't see it, or whatever may be the case. Number one, you need to read to keep your skills up. That's number one. Number two, reading can transform your mind. There used to be a expression in the black community, and I haven't heard it in a long time, and I'm happy I haven't heard it in a long time, but the expression used to be, if you want to hide something from a black person, put it in a book. And they even had, I don't know if it was a comedian, whoever, I heard a joke, and the joke went as follows. Yeah, when the robbers came in the house, they couldn't find the money because it was sitting in the middle of the living room in a book. Pages torn out, stash of money in the book. And that's really sad. What that says is we don't value education. But when you got a school system that doesn't teach, it's easy to not value education because we define things by association as people. So I'm telling you to redefine that association, redefine that meaning of reading. My dad kept telling me, you need to read. You need to read more. And I'm like, reading's boring, Dad. I don't. So when I got older and I kind of got interested in like reading for sport, I was like, I don't really know how to start. What do I do? And he was like, well, start with something you like because you naturally have patience for things you like. Remember when I was talking about that, having that job you really love? I was like, okay, I'm a big basketball fan. That's my favorite sport. I love football. I love baseball. Basketball is my favorite sport. I'm a lifelong San Antonio Spurs fan, and I am a lifelong LeBron James fan. I was like, okay, what can I read? I'll read basketball statistics. I'll read Wikipedia bios of my favorite basketball players. So people will ask me, how do you know all of these things about sports? I know LeBron's entire career scoring point average season by season. I know Kobe's, I know Michael's, I know Kevin Durant's. I just sat down and read a bunch of stats because I was interested. Okay, now let me see where they're from. Okay, how did they play in high school? Okay, Do they have any philanthropy? Like, I just sat down and I read a bunch of that stuff. And reading became fun to me because I was reading about basketball, something I really, really love. And on the back of that, I started saying, well, let me read some other things. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Outwitting the Devil, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I haven't finished all of these books like I need to, and y'all can hold me accountable too. But the point is, I've started reading them because it's like, look, this is great knowledge. Started reading about money. Again, religion, culture, history, how the world really started, things like that. Reading can transform your mind. There are some things you can flat out learn in reading and in your reading time that you just really not gonna get anywhere else. Okay, for me, number four is a really big one. This is huge. Spend time with loved ones and friends who actually equal loved ones, right? You love your friends. I just, as time goes by, I feel like the world becomes a lot more separated. People blame social media, but social media is an app. I can't blame a damn app for what a person decides to do, but I can understand the link. If everybody's like this, what time are you spending with people? And as I record this video, it's mid July. My birthday just passed. I'm 37 years old now. Yay. um, but with that said, having a July birthday, that means the 4th of July was about a week and a half ago from the time of recording of this video. I didn't see anybody say anything about any cookouts. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I remember there was a period of time, Labor Day, Memorial Day, July 4th, just because it's summertime. People had cookouts. They had cook-ins. I know a friend of mine named Kenyon, he has a cook-in grill in his kitchen. He'd be like, man, I can still grill food. Y'all come over, sit in the living room, we play cards or something. People just don't get together like they used to. That by itself makes life a lot more fun. You know what I mean? In the next 6 months to a year, I'm going to be in the process to really like buy a home. And to be honest, one of the reasons I really want to buy a home is because I want to be that house. I want to be that friend where it's like, hey, it's Thursday. So I'm celebrating. Come over for a cookout. Like, just come over. Like, and so I just feel like we as a people don't connect like we used to. And of course I'm not saying nobody in the world, but at one period of time, it was like growing up, like we went to church and then we went over to our grandmother's house for dinner every Sunday. That was really special. And over time that slowed down. And then over time, the amount of cookouts slowed down. And then it just doesn't seem like people get together anymore. The necessity of spending time with loved ones makes life sweet. Every now and then, kicking back on the porch with somebody with a little, with an angry orchard in your hand and just talking and music going and you're just dancing, finesse. Hey, it makes life sweeter. It gives you something to look forward to, especially in that work week. If you at that job that you can't stand, hey, you know what? It's all good because Saturday we got that cookout at so and such's house. Spending time with loved ones is really important. This is a people experience. Life is all about who you connect with. And I think as time goes along with us not connecting like we once did, it just makes life a lot harder to enjoy. Okay, so number five is something that I'm still actively working on. And I mean, you will always be working on, you know, things in your life, but learn how to manage money. This is a big one, especially like in the black community, because I feel like a key cog in the system of poverty is just not knowing how to manage money. And on some level, again, it speaks to choice. We say, well, this is out of my control, that's out of my control. Well, not making a choice is still making a choice because you leave the progress of your life up to something else. It's not okay to just go, ain't my fault. Well, actually, technically, it is. Once you get to a certain age, and I'm guilty of this, with a certain issue, although this is just you, habits die hard. By the time between like ages 5 and 8, your personality is built. So by the time you're 30, 35, yeah, it'll be harder to break those issues, but it's up to you to do so. And learning to manage money is dire. I think the funny thing about life is, again, YouTube. There's so much content on YouTube. It's free. You know what I mean? Like, knowledge is free. Who you surround yourself with. They say the 5 people you hang out with most is a prophecy of your future. Well, if it's just you and your boys, and I get that, but do your boys got any money? Think about it. What do your boys do? Do y'all go out Y'all go to seminars together? Do y'all go to events to connect with other powerful men who have money? Right? Naturally, some women in the room. You know what I'm saying? You sitting at home in front of the TV. Like, think about those things. Learn to manage money. Stock market, options, Forex. Let your money work for you. Like, at the end of the day, being broke is a choice. It's saying, I'm still associating learning with boredom, even if that includes money. But that's a choice. You know what I mean? I'll be the first to tell you, I love video games. I'll play a video game to death. But at some point, the video game got to go off. A money video needs to come on. Shout out to, there's a gentleman on YouTube named Mike Mahoney. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of the Wall Street Trapper. Like, it's people you can learn these skills from. The better you are with money, you can dictate your own terms. If you continue to not have money, your life is going to be whatever everybody else decides it will be. Number 6 really ties into number 5. And I mean, I kind of even said it while I was saying number 5, but make your money work for you. You know, there's real estate, there's Airbnb, which I guess you could say real estate, not really the same thing, but housing and how to make money off of housing. Again, Forex, stock market, you know, anything you do, buy, sell, flip, figure out how to make your money work for you. When your money works from you, then money is on your schedule. You're not on money's schedule. And that, again, notice the common link in everything we're talking about today. This still goes back to loving what you do, even if it's a 9 to 5, because a 9 to 5 can still be purposeful, right? But when you're chasing the money, they tell you when to come to work. They tell you what time you can go to lunch. They tell you what time you can leave, when you got to do mandatory overtime. You're working for the money. But when money works for you, you set your schedule. Why can't you take a trip to New York Tuesday so you can go shop? Why not? Why can't you? Why can't you go to Italy this summer? Because you haven't made money work for you. You're still working for the money. Make your money work for you. Get some money. And honestly, the stock market is one of the best ways to do that. You put your money out there, you learn some skills to predict price action, whether it's going to go up, whether it's going to go down. You make your money, you take out, and you have a good day. I know that sounds a lot simpler than it can be, in execution. But the point is, anything in life is a skill that you learn and then you execute it, you implement it, right? Make your money work for you. All right, we made it to number 7. Thank you for tuning in thus far. Number 7, in my opinion, is the biggest one. Number 7, give back, help others. This is a big deal. Again, life is all about people who you connect with. Sometimes my giving back is just checking on friends. Hey, what's up with that podcast you said you was doing? What's up with that book you were writing? I had a friend of mine at a birthday dinner show me a book she had. She had like 200 pages written. Why haven't I read this book yet? I texted her the other day about it, and she was like, thank you, Jam. I appreciate you checking on me. I'm like, no problem. I know the fears I've had that I've rehearsed. You know what I mean? So that's my giving back. It doesn't even have to mean money. It can mean your time. Just give back, help others. You know, we've all needed help at different times. And wouldn't you want somebody in that time to be like, here, I got you. Pay me back or don't pay me back. So we have a duty to be that person as well. Everybody can win if we all pitch in to help each other. You know what I mean? It's really that simple. I think the world's become a lot colder in pursuit of excellence. And sometimes in the pursuit of excellence, you have to be stoic, meaning stoicism as a principle of practice, right? An art. Stoicism is not the art of not having emotion. It's the art of saying 95% of this shit don't deserve my feelings. Only 5% does. So yeah, sometimes you got to be stoic. And in being stoic, everybody's walking around. But what happened to the warm, fuzzy vibes? You know what I'm saying? What happened to the, hey, sis, you good? Hey, bro, you good? What you need from me? I got your back. Don't worry about it. Hey, pay me back when you can. Hey, I got extra. Don't pay me back at all. You know what I'm saying? What happened to the time where you saw that sister in the neighborhood who had kids? Their father weren't around, but they played with your kids. So you took them under your wing. Like, my parents did that growing up. I had so many friends growing up that my parents Hey, I didn't come over there, spend the night, sure. I would play with them. One thing I thought about is that years ago, we used to play outside for hours, so far away from home. I'm not even sure my parents knew how far away from home I was at times, but I was with my friends. I was in a community full of people, and we were fine. I would go home, I would check in, and I would run my ass right back outside. I miss those days, you know what I mean? Because I think about that now. Like my daughter, I wouldn't dare think of letting her out the house anywhere out of my sight. But I think about how far I could be. Anyway, if it wasn't for my friend's parents who also said, hey, you living in Karen's, boy, I got you. Don't worry about it. Give back, help others, be there for each other. Yeah. My definition of give back is not just financial. Because we focus so much on money sometimes. You need to learn money skills. You need to have money. But there's other kinds of currency. Kindness is a currency. Just be kind and warm to people. You know what I'm saying? Give back, help others. Do you have a shirt? Hey, man, your brother need a shirt for an interview. He don't have one. Give him a shirt. Give him a tie. Help. Ask people, what can I do for you? Right? I think that's really important because that helps tie the world together. It's like a glue. It helps us to stay close. It helps us to be warm and fuzzy. It helps us to not always have to be so stoic. You know, there's a song by Imagine Dragons called Natural. And they said, you have to be so cold to make it in this world. And that's true. In certain ways, you have to be really cold hearted to make it in today's world. But after you get off of that job, if more people were warm and fuzzy and accepting, I think that would just really do something for all of us. All right, so those were 7 tips to reach success. And I really hope that you learned something. I really hope you share this with somebody. You know, those are 7 things that I think are important. Again, there are other tips out there in the world, and I encourage you to find those. You don't have to just listen to me. Sidebar, the Jamaal Bethea Show is now live on Apple. You can find my podcast on Apple. You can find my podcast on Spotify. You can find my podcast on Pandora, right? And there are a couple other places. And I'm working on like Google Podcasts and things like that. But we are officially live. So you can watch me on YouTube. I mean, again, I'm on all the socials. You know, check my page. And let's build a community. I'm going to have some live events. I'm going to do some things. So just follow me. Just stay close. All right? I love you guys.
Clap your hands this evening.